The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on a break!
with Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, March 16th, 2022, season 17, episode number 108. Welcome to the latest edition and most scintillating edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Free agency is about to kick off. We've already had the initial tampering period, I guess is the best way to put it, but it's going to kick off in earnest this afternoon where people can actually put their names on the dotted line, and that's where it gets really interesting. We got so many storylines to talk about. Welcome to the show, Nick Eatman.
Hi.
Amber Garcia. Dave's not with us today. He's out, I don't know doing what, but he's not here today, so the three of us are going to hold it down, and we're going to get some opinions from these guys on the happenings around Cowboy Land the last couple days here. Let's start first with, obviously, the biggest news that's happened in the last 24 hours, and Randy Gregory. Let's start first, Nick. Just this level set for everybody. In your opinion, and you're as tied in as anybody, and I
don't know about that.
No, you absolutely
All
are
right.
because I know the people you talk to. Give me a layout of what actually happened. Where did we get from the beginning to kind of where we are now with Randy Gregory?
And I'm about to start this, but before I do, there's no way we can do the show tomorrow. Like, we're doing the show today.
Well,
I really would like to do the show tomorrow. But
I'll tell you this. We can always jump back on. I don't know that Amber will put up with us 2 times in one week in the offseason. That's not in her contract. But we can definitely, you and I can jump on there.
And we know what's on the contract is important.
Right.
So.
That's exactly right. You got to stick to the contract.
This is it was a roller coaster ride. Don't know if it's over, but I mean, because at 4 o'clock is, like you said, that's when everything, that's when everything will be official. Or that's when it first can be official. You don't have to sign right away. So we'll see how this thing goes. But I think what's happened here with Randy, this is what it looked like to me, is at the end of the day, and maybe even at the start of the day, he didn't really want to be in Dallas. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I mean, he's going to Denver. So, like, I think if he really wanted to be here, I think he would have. The problem that I have with all of this is that it sounded like Jerry got on the phone Monday night and had a long talk with Randy and really, quoted was, recruited the hell out of him. That's my problem. This guy stood by you for 7 years. He's done that and supported you when no one else did. He's offering you he's offering you what everyone else is offering you. It's not a lowball hometown discount. Why is this conversation not 30 seconds? That's my problem. It's done. Randy, let's do this. I'm proud of you. Let's make this happen. So the fact that you have to recruit him that hard, to me, that was an issue, number one. And then anything about the contract, my personal opinion is the agent who lives in Denver wanted his client to be in Denver, and I think they came up with this and maybe just stressed this part about the language in there. I don't think that was a big deal. It's part of every contract, and I think they're just using something to say, hey, Cowboys, they don't have faith in you.
Now, in all fairness, and I guess, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that we talk about every side of this. I think the argument against that would be, well, it wasn't exactly the same contract because there was this language in there. And this is language that, although it is very customary for Cowboys contracts, as we said, all Cowboys contracts seemingly have it in it except for Dak's. That being said, Denver wasn't putting it in the contract. So there was a point of differentiation. In Denver, maybe he doesn't have that language. In Dallas, he does. And that's maybe where they found a difference. And that was enough of a difference for them to want to make a different decision.
I think that it goes back to probably, and this is just my opinion, it goes back to what Nick was talking about, the agent, and kind of who do you have talking in your ear when you're at home in your, like, personal space, personal trusting space, as opposed to, you have lived the relationship that you have with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, and you know what you've experienced. But you're always like in the back of your head, even if you think something, you're thinking, oh, they're probably trying to get the best end of the deal for themselves. So you're going to trust more the person that's supposed to be looking out for you and supposed to be helping you out to get you the best deal that you possibly can. But we all know, we've seen shows on TV. We've seen Ballers. I think that you learn a lot from like the what is supposed to be the side that we don't get to see and how business works in the NFL. So you know the agent, the agent. Who knows what he got going on and what kind of relationships he has in with the Broncos, and wants to kind of pull Randy Gregory and just saying something like that, like, oh, well, this was in your contract, that wasn't before, and you shouldn't, you know. So little things like that, yeah, it's going to bother you. But I don't think until, and I learned this yesterday, and I think we all learned the lesson, until it is on paper, signed with a pen, possibly a blue pen, we can't say what can happen or what cannot happen. Yeah. So until I hear that that's signed and I see a picture of him signing, I won't say whether he's going over there, staying, or whatever, because we know the kind of power that Jerry Jones has too. But like Nick said, I don't think it should have been this dramatic and so confusing.
Yeah, you touched on the part that I think bothers me the most about this. I know, Nick, you said the part that bothers you. The part that bothers me the most is that there was this characterization, and I don't know if it came from the agent or Randy or someone else, just the media putting it in there, but there was just the idea that the Cowboys just kind of at the 11th hour just slipped this little caveat into this contract and hoped they wouldn't see it. And that doesn't seem to be what happened here. It's a situation where this is a standard part of their contracts. By the way, it was in Randy's contract, his first contract, where there was guaranteed money in it. So they should have known.
Can you mention the difference between like what the kind of contract he had last year? Because people are also talking
that was
about
not a guaranteed contract. He didn't have guaranteed money in that, and that's why the clause is in there. That clause is in there in contract to have guaranteed money. So his first contract back in whatever year that was when he first got into the NFL, that one did have the same language in it as this one has in it. So it wasn't something where it doesn't appear to be something where the Cowboys were just kind of like, hey, let's see if they catch this. Let's just kind of drop this in there. It was one of those situations where they put their standard language in there, and for whatever reason, someone characterized it as the Cowboys were trying to get over on them, and that's the part I think is being disingenuous. I have no problem with the player deciding for himself, hey, that's not something that works for me. I don't think that's something, because I assume if it was in everybody else's contract except for Dak and his agent said at some point, that doesn't work for us. And so, it's every player and their representative's right to be able to negotiate and say, that's not something we want to agree to. Where I have a problem is when someone makes it seem like there was kind of this nefarious thing that was going on with it. It really wasn't.
Trying to be sneaky.
Yeah, but let's talk about specifically what you're saying there, though. I mean, like, if you don't have a problem with that, but like I have a problem with that. I mean, if you walk in here and say, "Hey guys, you can't come in the building here if you've got guns," and someone just turns around and says, "Well, okay, see you guys later. I'm going back." It's like, well, what's the guy? The guy's got guns. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but here's
but if you don't, if that is the issue, if that is the issue of like, well, I don't want to agree to that. Well, then what are we anticipating here?
Because here's the thing, we are talking about a league where you can get fined or suspended even when the court, like the legal system, says there's nothing here. We saw it happen with Zeke. Like, it happens in this league. It doesn't take a legal finding. It just takes the commissioner saying, it doesn't sit right with me, so I'm going to fine you. Doesn't sit right with me, I'm going to suspend you. And now my guarantees are lost. So, again, by the way, I'm not trying to make a judgment as to whether this is a good clause or a bad clause. What I'm saying is I think the player has a right to be able to say, this doesn't work for me. I see areas in this clause that could be harmful to me, and if I have enough leverage, I choose to say I don't want to do that, and I will take a deal that doesn't have it in it. That's his right. Yeah. That's absolutely his right.
And you know what else is his right as well is he can, like, what people don't know, like I said that what I said about Jerry and them, and it should have been a quick conversation. But what you don't know is what a player needs in a person, not just a player, what a person needs in their life as far as change. Do they need a different? I mean, he's been here for 7 years. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. Maybe he wants to go to a different state. Whatever it is.
Stop it, Nick.
I'm just saying. You go to wherever you want. I mean, he doesn't have to take a discount because of Jerry. You don't have to do that. You would think if it was close, you'd think he would. But so when it's done, when he signs, I might have a different opinion on it. But right now, who knows what's going to happen? It looks like as we sit right here before noon, in Dallas, I mean, it looks like he's going to go to Denver. But, man.
Guess what? This time yesterday, it looked like he was going to go to Dallas. Or it might have been leaving a little bit before this. So I think the point that I'm hearing you make is everybody just kind of wait. Let's see how this all goes. And by the way, that's across the league.
Yeah.
Everything you've been hearing over the last 2 days, it was set up by the league to do exactly what it's doing, create conversation.
Drama.
Because none of this is done until the paper is signed, and that can't happen until at the earliest 4 p.m. today. So right now, let's just see how this all plays out. It's looking like he is going to Denver. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll see if by 4 today or at some point after that, if he signs the contract with Denver.
Real quick, this clause, obviously I know the gist of it, but do we know specifically what it said?
Oh, in the contract?
Yes.
I think it's just standard with any time a player is suspended, like any kind of guaranteed money that he has is voided. That's what happened with Lyle Collins. That's why, and Lyle, that's a player that could have some news today too. I mean, he might be released today. He might be traded today. I mean, I think if the Cowboys could get another 5th round pick, that'd be great. They only got 4, so
maybe one of them will hit.
Maybe one of them will kick. Anyways, I don't know about that. Texas. What? What, Bean? What?
Wow. Is that what we're doing today?
Well, I mean, that was a bad joke. Come on, let's be honest with you.
Was it?
Oh, I thought you were messing with my Texas.
No,
guy.
no. I'm talking about him. He's like, well, maybe one can kick.
I think it's a great joke. But it's okay.
All right.
That's okay. Chris is the stand-up guy. Anyways,
Gee,
what? Well, I'm just saying. I mean, who's to say what a funny joke is?
Make your point.
Maybe they'll draft a kicker. Maybe they'll draft a kicker in the 5th round. They got 4 picks.
Well, they got 4 other picks.
And you know what? Maybe they'll re-sign Greg Zuerlein. And that really is a thing. That could happen.
See, we trying to have a good show.
I'm telling you, they could re-sign Greg Zuerlein. They
what about
could.
a punter?
They need a punter. They need Angers out there.
Right, we're getting way off from where I want to be right now.
Either
Let's
you cut the
focus
relationship or you don't. There enough with this back and forth
Thank you,
crap.
Amber.
It's
Thank
either
you.
it is or it isn't.
And when you're in the relationship, just move
That's
on.
it.
Everybody should
Yeah,
move
go
on.
away.
Everybody do other things.
Exactly.
Tell that to Rob Phillips. He was working here and then he left and he came back. You don't want Rob to come back?
Oh, is that what we're gonna?
Just
Now
saying.
we just made it personal, huh?
Well, I mean, sometimes it happens. Like
All right.
that.
So here's my question for you guys. How much of a problem is it if Randy doesn't come back? How much of a problem is that for Dallas? And you can take this from any standpoint
Okay.
you want, from a fan standpoint, from a PR standpoint, from a football standpoint. How much of a problem is this for Dallas?
Well, it's just all about the pivot. I mean, where do they go from there? I mean, they had it budgeted for $14 million.
Yeah.
Do something with that. What
Don't
are you
hold
gonna
that
do?
to next year.
Are you going to get 2 players from that? Are you going to go get Dorrance Armstrong now and someone else? Are you going to go get a Von Miller?
Yeah.
Which that's not going to be 14. That's going to be more than that. So
Can Bobby Wagner be in the mix?
and Bobby, yeah. And I know this. The Cowboys have made phone calls too. Just throw them out there, and the answer is yes.
All the names.
Chandler Jones, Bobby Wagner, Dante Fowler, Von Miller. Who else? I mean, Zadarius Smith. They've done their due diligence with all of it, and they're just kind of get the parameters and see. I think Dorrance is in the mix here. If Randy officially signs with Denver, I think Dorrance would be in the mix, but Dorrance and someone else. Leighton Vander Esch. Sounds like Leighton's not getting the money that he thought he would get
On the open market.
But he could get some deals today. It sounds like New England and Pittsburgh are in the mix for him. Jaron Kearse, that's an interesting one as well. I think Kearse thought he'd get a little bit more money too. This seems like one where a lot of people in the league thought Kearse was going to just go back to Dallas and Dan Quinn, and they didn't really mess with it. So I don't think he's got they don't have anything to bounce it off on, and I think they're working on a deal, and they want him to be happy.
And they might also look at it and say, like, this may be one of those players that really works for Dan's system, maybe not so much for ours.
Maybe.
Maybe that's part of it, is he's more valuable to Dallas maybe than he is to a lot of other teams.
I think literally at the end of the day, I really think the Jaron Kearse situation, I think that if I'm predicting, I think that they'll get a deal with him. That's what I think.
And to be honest with you, Nick, going into the offseason this year, the way I looked at the defense was I need to keep one of my 2 defensive ends, and I need to
keep
keep
of the 3. You mean? I mean, you weren't factoring in Dorrance.
I wasn't factoring.
Okay.
I assumed Dorrance and Cedric to me were guys I didn't think they would be able to retain because I figured the amount of money they would be valuable, the amount of money they would demand on the open market would be more than Dallas would be willing to pay for the roles they would play here.
Got it.
That being said, I felt like I needed to keep one of my 2 defensive ends. I needed to keep one of those free safeties, and I needed to keep my strong safety. And if I did that, I felt like I could fill in a lot of the other blanks between draft, lower level free agents. I felt like that gives you still a really good defense. Those are the core. That's the core. Now, if you get both defensive ends, now you're really working with something. If you add a free agent that you weren't expecting, now you're really working with something. But to me, if they fulfilled that, they've done what I think they had to do, and then everything else is the gravy.
Well, going back to your question, I think this is a big problem. And I'm not saying Randy Gregory is the best defensive end pass rusher in the NFL. He's not. But if you don't find someone that's better than him or that can somewhat provide you something equal to what he was giving you, then you're messing with the side of the ball that was the good side, the one side that is kind of giving you some excitement, some hope, after the transition and development that we saw last year with what Dan Quinn was able to do. Now if you don't replace that position, you're messing now with also what Micah Parsons might be able to give you, and a player that was so versatile and that was able to help you in different ways, but you cannot pin him down at a certain position, because then I think that's really going to affect your defense overall. So right now, I'm very concerned. I am not happy or excited about the offense, and we still have guys and all that, but there are a lot of things to fix. A lot of uncertainty at wide receiver, even though we know we have CeeDee Lamb, we have Michael Gallup now. They also brought Noah Brown back and all that, but is CeeDee Lamb going to be able to step up? How is Michael Gallup coming back from that injury? How is he going to look like at the role that they're going to give him as well? So a lot of uncertainty there, the O-line and all that. But if they don't bring someone exciting on the defense right now, I'm raising my hand of someone that's going to be walking around with a grumpy face, unhappy, and not excited, because there are a lot of things to fix right now.
Yeah.
With Randy, if he's not on the team, I'll just look at his stats and his age and his going on, and some of his injury history. And, because that's looking at glass half full and half empty and all that. Like, you look at it and go, he's 29 and he's not really done anything. He's never made a Pro Bowl. You can do whatever you want.
Full season, yeah.
And then if you sign him, all you got to do is show me the clip against Washington where he tipped the ball and then caught it and ran it and a stiff arm and all that stuff.
Give me more of that.
Give me that guy. So I get it. I mean, and that's what Denver's doing. And I'm not gonna badmouth him as a player. I he was a guy I would have wanted to sign. I can see the value there because I think he's a freakish player. He's not been consistent though in his life at times, and then obviously on the field and they go hand in hand. But if Denver gets him, I mean, they're getting an outstanding player potentially. He's got the potential to be as freakish as anybody in the league. Just doesn't always show it out there, and that's the hiccup. But the Cowboys wanted him back, and I'll say this about Jerry Jones. I think Jerry Jones could stand in front of a beach and sell sand to people as they walk in and say, "Hey, would you like some sand?"
Seen him do it.
I think he could do
Similar
it.
things. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this: if Randy gets any more phone calls from Jerry, like, you better not
Before
take
he gets
them.
on that plane, right?
Like,
if he wants to go to Denver, don't get on the phone. Yeah.
Don't talk to Jerry, because I'm just saying I trust Jerry. If Jerry you had the last say, I trust him. But we'll see. As it stands right now, it looks like he's going to Denver, but I want to see that ink.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I will say this, and we're going to take a break. But when we come back, I want to ask you guys the question: would you consider taking the money that now is available if they're not going to sign Randy, would you consider taking that money and maybe using it on the offense? Because Amber talked about the offense. Would you maybe look at, is there some free agent out there at guard or center or tackle even maybe that makes you say, hey, let's spend some of that big money there? Can you fix the offensive line and you get more value for your team than maybe spending it on a pass rusher? We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
All right, here's a new one here. K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing.
All right.
Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. From corporate homes to your home. Have your roof checked by choice, not by chance. Call now.
Let's go.
214-225-4860. So if you're living in Virginia, I don't know if they're going to help you, but you know what? Living in this area, get that roof checked.
Hey, man, you know we always have crazy weather in Dallas. So you never know when you got a little problem on the roof, and you don't want to find out by water coming through your ceiling. So trust me, go get it checked out.
Hell yeah. How about that one, Chris? Nope. Okay.
Still didn't like it. He's still not on board. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. Question I have for you guys before we went to break. Do you take the money that you would have spent on Randy and maybe go and use it on the offensive side of the ball? Because I talked before the break about, for me, what I thought they needed to do on the defense. The number one priority I thought the Cowboys had going into the offseason, regardless of side of the ball, was they need to fix this offensive line. Would you take that money and now go out and try to get J.C. Tretter, who is a center, probably the best center on the free agent market right now? Do you go out and spend that money on that side of the ball instead of maybe getting another pass rusher?
I would. No, I would definitely for the offensive line. You got to fix your problems. But I will say this, though. Your defense last year was good. It was good defense. It wasn't like the best.
It wasn't great.
But it was good, and it was really good at turnovers. But it was, they had some issues as well. So you can't just, if you lose Randy, you got to get something for that. You know what I mean? Because then you're gonna drop down even more. So I can see both sides. I mean, you got holes to fix. Whatever the best value is. Yeah, if it's an offensive player, I don't think it'd be a receiver. I do think they're gonna sign a veteran receiver.
Your boy.
So does Dez. Dez thinks so too. But yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. But anyways, and I'm talking about Dez throughout James Washington's name the other day, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, he's an Eaton family favorite.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that would be nice if he's from Abilene, Stanford. So, but yeah, I think it would be. He'd be a good addition. They need somebody like that. But anyways, I mean, guard, center, defense, anything you need.
So whoever is the best player available, like take that to the free agency. You know, the concept that they use for draft, take it, apply that to free agency. Doesn't matter which side of the ball, just go for the best player available because you need it. You need help on both sides, clearly. But one thing will they? Because they don't usually do this in recent years. And I know at the same time, we have seen a lot of changes with Mike McCarthy coming in and things that we haven't seen before have happened. So now I wonder, okay, are they looking to actually spend some money on a guy that isn't their own guy? Because I don't want to rely on just the draft. Even if they draft a good guy or whatever, I don't want it to be the case that we go in because it's a hit or miss. Some guys right away, Micah Parsons, right away are excellent, but it's hard to find guys like that, and it's rare. And at the same time, you get guys that it does take them a while to develop and all that. And right now, people are tired. We're not looking to develop, we're looking to do it.
Honestly, there's really on one position where I look at it, or maybe two, where I look at it and I'm like, I don't think that I wouldn't be waiting for the draft to address this. And there's a reason why. Receiver's the primary one because, as you guys mentioned last week on the show, there's a good chance, I shouldn't say good chance, there is a chance, whatever the percentage is, there's a chance that Michael Gallup is not ready to play at the beginning of the season. He certainly won't be ready for the beginning of training camp and preseason. So that being said, I think I need to hedge my bet, and I need to have a veteran on this team. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm not going to draft one. I might draft one really high, but I think I need to have a vet that's available to me week one that can start the season, that if I have him paired with CD, paired with whoever is the rookie that I draft, now I still got a good enough wide receiver core to be able to go out and do what I need to do to win ball games. So for me, I look at that position and I say, I really think you got to get even if it's a lower, and I shouldn't say a lower, but not the top veteran at the position. James Washington would be a perfect fit from that standpoint. He's that guy that's pretty good player, has played and done some pretty decent things where he was before. You can probably get him for a pretty good deal, maybe even a short-term deal, 1-2 years. And so for something like that, to me, that seems to be the great fit, and that seems to be the thing I think they got to do this offseason before they get to draft.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about some of the people, some of the players who are no longer here. We have not had a chance to talk about some of those deals that have happened over the last several days. I want you to tell me about, I'm going to throw out the name. I'll tell you what they went and what happened. And then I want you to tell me if you think the Cowboys should have made more of a play based on where they went and what they were given. Let's start first. Obviously, it was a trade with Amari Cooper. They traded for a 5th-round pick. They swapped 6th-round picks with Cleveland. How did you feel about that deal?
Oh, I don't like the decision to get rid of Amari Cooper. That's plain and simple. I wouldn't have done that. I think that this team is on the verge of doing something. They're right there, and I think he's one of their better players, and I would have figured it out with him. So that's not the case.
So fit definitely wasn't worth it for you.
No, no.
How much money
hold on.
The trade was it? Are they saving again?
$16 million.
16.
So, that's what they were gonna. That's what they were gonna get Randy Gregory or whoever with, but. But it's two different things. It's the decision, and then they've made it. Okay, so now it's a trade. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, the trade's fine. The trade is what it is. I mean, if you could get a first, you get a first. You get a second, you get a third, you get a fourth, you get a fifth.
It's all about the market.
It's just that's what it is, and that's the world that we live in with us doing 37 podcasts and everyone in the world doing it.
38.
30, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're doing here. So the thing about that is that you can't. Nothing's a secret. As soon as the Browns think you're going to cut them, then they're not going to. 5th is about the best you're going to get.
And they're taking on all that salary,
yeah.
So they're not really necessarily giving up a lot of picks, knowing they're going to have to take on the salary.
That's part of it too. This is the most expensive 5th-round pick they've ever had. So that's. The trade is what it is. I mean, you never. If they could have got more, they would have got more. I mean, would you have taken a 4th round pick from the Eagles or a 5th rounder from the Browns?
5th round from the Browns.
I mean, so you're looking at AFC. You're doing the best option you can. Get them over there. That is what it is. I wouldn't have made the decision, but that's the decision they made.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either. And again, we don't know exactly what all they got going on over there, what all they have dealt with and all that. But at the same time, this trade just left me feeling like I got the bad end of the deal. You know, like I wasn't pleased about it. Of course, I didn't want to see him, but if he left, I want to at least feel like, okay, I feel, that's all right. You know, we're gonna be fine. But right now, I don't feel like we're fine just yet, unless after we start seeing what kind of moves and obviously what happens through free agency and draft and all that. But right now, it just feels like we lost and we took a step backwards rather than forward.
I think Amari would have done a DeMarcus Lawrence deal. I think he would have done that. You know,
where it saves you a lot on the cap.
Saves you on the cap, but also kind of guarantees him a little bit. I think they could have worked with him. I just think that for whatever the reason, they've kind of made it their decision. And, you know, I think there's some nitpicking. From what I've heard about things that he doesn't do as well on the field and all that, I'm just kind of like, okay. But I think that they wanted to move on. They wanted to push this towards CD, let it be his time, and you know, sign Gallup. It's not what I would have done. It really wouldn't. I would have probably signed the deal, and I think he's probably next on your list here, Cedric Wilson. I probably would have signed Cedric Wilson instead of Michael Gallup. It's cheaper, and the guy's going to be available. Right. That's what I would have done. But I think Gallup's more of a long-term thing, and I think it saves you a little bit more on the cap because they were able to spread that deal out more.
Yeah. Let's talk about Cedric Wilson. He gets a 3-year deal, $22 million. $7.35 million is the average per year, with $12.75 million guaranteed. He goes to the Dolphins. What do you think of the deal?
I don't want to agree with Nick because I want to give some differences of opinion on this show, but I do. And I said it last week, I would have preferred Cedric Wilson, not only because of the money, but also I don't feel like it's that different than Michael Gallup. And I know you can make that face.
I disagree.
But
I really disagree.
Yeah, I think, okay, some people will disagree and some people see the skills that Michael Gallup has over Cedric Wilson. But based on what I saw last year on Cedric Wilson, it did give me a lot more hope that given the opportunity, he will keep giving you things that you won't miss Michael Gallup, especially seeing the connection that Dak has with him, which is hard to find. It's hard to find a quarterback, especially a guy like Dak that does need that kind of help. But it's hard to find a guy that can connect that way and be in sync with your quarterback.
But I actually think he has that same level of connection with Michael Gallup. Like, you think about the number of plays that we've seen between the two of them where he hits him just perfectly toward the sideline where it's right where Gallup can make the catch. And we know Gallup can make those kinds of catches. Like, I think he has a similar connection with him as well. I don't think it's just Cedric and he doesn't have that connection with other players. I think he's got that same connection with other guys. And to me, it's really just about, I hear what you guys are saying, and I get it. Cedric is a good, solid receiver, in my opinion. I think Michael Gallup is also a solid receiver. I think Michael Gallup, though, has the skill and things I've seen that suggest he can be more than that. And as he continues to develop, I think he has the skill to be more than just a solid receiver. He has some skills that makes him do some extraordinary things. I haven't necessarily seen that from Cedric. I haven't seen Cedric make those extraordinary plays in the same way and at the same.
Cedric can throw the ball.
That's great. That's nice. And again, I get that, but I think Michael Gallup. I think Michael Gallup is if you were stacking them up right beside each other, I think Michael Gallup is a better receiver. And so for me, I don't think the money kills him. This is a very doable deal for them. So if you can get the better receiver for a very doable price, do it.
And that's the thing. Like, it's easy to look at it and go, well, Gallup's getting, almost $11 million? No, more than that, almost 12.
His average?
His average.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
But I mean,
only 4.5 to 5 is counted against the cap this year.
In reality, that's not really the case. That
he may not see a lot of that.
It's probably a cheaper deal than Cedric. But I think Cedric is a more versatile player, and I think I've seen.
Is it just because of his ability to throw that you call him more versatile?
No.
What's the other part?
I think he's a better fluid athlete. I think he's a better athlete. I've seen more plays where I like him in the middle of the field. The Minnesota game comes to mind where he was weaving through for touchdown. The one where he was spinning there against Carolina for a touchdown. He's made clutch plays too. New England game, they lose if he doesn't make a catch on the sideline. He's had some balls where he's made perfectly thrown passes right in there. I mean, he's made plays too. So I just think he's and to me, it's the health.
That's fair.
It's in March and April. He'll be out. I'm pointing to a practice field out here. I just think his availability, cheaper, and I think comparable in the plays.
That's the thing. It's like seeing recent history, what you've seen recently does influence kind of what we have in our mind right now. At least I can say that for myself. Me, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's definitely for sure a better player than Gallup, but they're very hand in hand to me. And what I have in my mind right now is just a Cedric Wilson that will jump, go there. He can do the tiptoe too. He can do that too. He can throw the ball. And again, not that you're looking for your receiver to be the quarterback either, but just a little extra spice on there. And that's why,
It opens it up, though. When you have that in your arsenal, I mean, it does open it up. I mean, I thought his throw against Minnesota to
CD throw.
I'm sure he can. I'm sure
I can too.
I guess my point is, I think there are probably other guys that could do that if you ask them to. I think CD adds that level of, he can do different kinds of things. Maybe CD. I mean, maybe Michael Gallup can. Who knows whether they can? I just haven't asked them.
CD can't throw the ball. Who's going to catch it? CD's the catcher. I mean, he's the guy that's catching the ball here.
Michael Gallup.
Okay, I'm talking about the first 3 weeks of the season.
No, and
this won't take long.
No, but that's actually a fair point when you start talking about health and availability, because I am a little worried about what they're going to do at the beginning of the season if Michael Gallup isn't ready to go. Like, how do they manage that? Because they've lost their depth at wide receiver at this point. All right, let's talk about Connor Williams. He gets a 2-year, $14 million deal, average $7 million a year, 7.5 guaranteed. He also goes to the Dolphins. That's just becoming Dallas Cowboys East. That being said, what do you think about the deal? What do you think about the Cowboys allowing him to go?
Scary. It's a scary thing because in no way did the Cowboys want Connor Williams back. And the fans didn't want him back, and they don't want this guy to play left guard anymore, even though he's done it for 4 years. So he goes. He's a $7 million a year player. So they want somebody better than that, clearly. But if he's a $7 million guard, year guard, then
yeah,
yeah,
we only got so much money,
right? So
try to get this defensive end.
That's a scary thing, and there's not a lot of guards out there. So, and you don't want to go into the draft pigeonholed into you have to take a guard because that's when you get jumped. That's when you get jumped by somebody that says, "Oh, we'll take him," because they know you got to take him. Yeah. So. And then I wouldn't go much farther than the first round, maybe the second, on taking a guard that you can plug right in and being able to play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scary. Like, what are they doing here? So
would you? But you would not. I want to be clear. You're not saying you would have made this deal for Connor Williams.
No. What I'm saying is that if I'm gonna have to let go of Amari Cooper and I'm doing all these other moves, I'm not worried about Gallup or Gregory. I would have signed Scherf. I would have done that.
I cannot argue with you on
that. And then maybe for the first time in his life, Zach Martin is a little pissed off or annoyed, and maybe you got to rub that belly a little bit or figure that out. But either way,
you give me those two guys.
You give me two badass guards.
I actually think at that point, Biotis becomes
becomes
an okay center.
When
you got those two guys, I think you become an okay center. Yeah, I kind of agree.
I mean, he is an okay center. He's an okay center, but okay is not getting the job done. Okay, he's not.
Okay. Well, he will be a better center with those two guys. If
serviceable, you wouldn't have to go draft a center, but you probably could. But man, I would have done that. That's been my thought, but they don't want to go that route.
Yep. All right, Amber, thoughts?
Connor.
I mean,
you do.
We all know. We all know it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think that we knew his time here was over, and neither part were really happy. I can't imagine Connor being happy either with everything that's being asked of him, getting so many criticism, not just maybe from the people in the building, but also people out there, the fans, constantly criticizing. And sometimes it was fair, and other times I think he got more than what he should have. But at the end of the day, his time was up, and it is very, very concerning not to see any moves happening right now at that position and on the O-line. Because we know Dak really needs help from the O-line, and so does the running game. We know Zeke needs it, and Tony Pollard, and those two, and people that were a few weeks ago cut Zeke. Well, we already know that ain't happening. It's not gonna happen. It doesn't work out for the Cowboys that way. Zeke is here to stay, and they need the help that they can get, all the help that they can get on the O-line.
Yep. All right.
I will say this, and there are people listening live, and obviously if you're listening later, this is going to be outdated. But Randy Gregory has tweeted out here at about noon our time. Madden put a picture of him in a Broncos uniform and thoughts, and then he just typed in LFG. So
in other words, I think we're pretty sure he's going to Denver.
LFG. Left field. I don't know. Left field Gregory. Let's effing go. So it looks like he's going. But you know what? Got to sign the papers. We'll see what happens. But that kind of seems like he's out there. But we'll see. This thing is again. I keep calling it a roller coaster, and I don't know if the ride's over yet.
That's so annoying.
All right, we're gonna take our final break. When we come back, we got a whole list of Cowboys free agents that we have not heard about, and we'll talk about those guys and what we think is going to happen here over the next few days, maybe the next few weeks for some of them. We'll do it when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call. And teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
Whether you're in the stands or watching at home, you can see more and do more with Esseler Lens. Esseler.com. See more, do more. Esseler.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking free agency. There are so many storylines to follow that will stay the same for the next few days, maybe weeks, heading right into the draft, which should be interesting here at the end of April. Never lost for something to talk about here on the break. Let's talk about some of the guys that are free agents that we have not talked a lot about and that really haven't been in the news cycle here recently. Let's start first with Dorrance Armstrong. Where do you think things are with Dorrance Armstrong as a defensive end? And I want you to put it in two different categories. One, if for some reason the Cowboys were to go out and be able to, before he gets his name on a sheet of paper, get Randy Gregory back. That doesn't seem likely, but if that happens. Or if he's gone and then you got to move on and try to figure out what you're going to do, how does that help or hurt Dorrance?
I think they look to sign Dorrance if it doesn't happen with Randy, and I think that they're pursuing that right now. From what I hear, the years is kind of the issue there. Dorrance wants a shorter deal, and the Cowboys want a longer deal just because it spreads out the cap a little bit. So I think that there's talk there. I mean, that's not, personally, Dorrance can't be Randy Gregory. He just can't. That's not his thing. He can be different and solid, but he's not going to ever be that explosive type player. I think if you draft Chauncey Golston in the 3rd round from Iowa, I think he's got to be Dorrance Armstrong. So I'm I'm fine if they re-sign him, but he's not going to get anyone that excited. And other than maybe, special teams coach and all that, because he's got a defensive end who can play. But I don't know if he's playing at that number. So I don't know. I think that they're going to try to sign him if they don't get Randy, but I don't know if that helps you that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either way. I think he's in that category of guys that we always see in free agency where it's, I'm not going to say easily replaceable, but you can find a guy that can also do similar things that he does. So he's right there in the middle of those type of guys that I'm okay if they bring him back, but I'm also okay thinking that they will find another defensive end in that level of his same level.
I think what I'm trying to say, I know I was kind of all over the place. I think I agree with you, and I would rather get a dynamic player, use the money to get one dynamic player, as opposed to getting a couple of guys like Dorrance and someone else, because I do think you've got Golston, and then you can figure someone else out. I'd rather have the dynamic player, whether it be a guard or whether it be another defensive end. But I'd rather spend that money that you were going to spend on Gregory for one big guy.
Okay, so I got the scenario for you, because I think I disagree with you under this scenario.
Okay.
So would you rather have Von Miller, or would you rather have Dorrance Armstrong plus Bobby Wagner? Because the way I look at it is, if you gave me Bobby Wagner with Dorrance Armstrong, the way I look at that is on most downs I can play Dorrance Armstrong at defensive end. I now have Micah I can move in on pass rush downs. I now have another linebacker that's a dynamic linebacker. If I wanted to even play Micah Moore at defensive end, I got a lot of options there. To me, I look at that, I say that may be an even better option and maybe more cost effective than going all in with, say, a Von Miller. What do you think? That
sounds good, but I mean, I think if I'm doing the math right, I think it's about 18. I think it's about $20 million. Maybe 8 for Dorrance and like 12 for.
You think you have to get 8 for Dorrance?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
7 maybe.
Okay.
So, and you're doing 14 for Randy and spreading it out a little bit more. So I don't think it's an apples to apples type thing with those two.
Yeah.
But I mean I get your point. The Chauncey Golston, just like, man, he's got to be this year's version of Dorrance Armstrong.
Which also, I guess that's where I get back to, I don't know how excited I am about possibly getting Dorrance back, because I think Chauncey, I'm hoping, when you draft him in the third round, you're hoping that he's going to become Dorrance Armstrong. And there were moments this year when you saw things, you're like, oh, that was a pretty good play. Okay, he's got a little something to him. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility to think he can at the very least become what Dorrance was.
I'm getting, though, if when Randy leaves, the number one priority for me would probably be Bobby Wagner, because
more so than saying a Vaughn, or is Vaughn just out of your price range?
I think he's out of the range, but if he wants to come to Dallas, that's fine. It sounds like he might go to LA, but I think it'd be Bobby Wagner, because I got an issue at linebacker. Yeah, you're not re-signing Leighton.
You only got one on the roster right now, right?
You only have
I mean, those other 3
one
they
that's played.
said they're not going. I thought there were what?
Jabril Cox is on.
I forgot about Jabril Cox. Yeah. Actually, that's a big one to forget about too, because he's going to be playing next year.
Yeah, he's going to be playing. But I mean, I just think you got one experienced linebacker, and everyone in the world's trying to move him to defensive end, and he could be. I mean, he could play some defensive end this year. I think he plays a lot more on the outside than he did this year.
Is that maybe your answer, that if you could get Bobby Wagner, maybe you move Micah to defensive end full time, or at least most of the time, or at least on passing downs, like he's always your defensive end?
I don't know. I mean, I know that McCarthy said he told the guys the other day about, hey, half of his sacks came from up the middle and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think that they want to still keep him that way, but I do think on third downs he might be on the outside a little bit more. It's all going to be on what it looks like. Because if you got Von Miller, let's say they signed Von Miller or Zadarius Smith or some outside rusher with D-Law, he's going to probably rush more in the middle. If you got Wagner, or you got drafted a first-round linebacker, he's probably going to be more on the outside. So that's why having Swiss Army knife badasses like him, we're not talking about.
It's also why they're not plentiful. It's hard to find them.
Yeah, we're not talking about a Patrick Creighton, Cedric Wilson, like he can do a lot of everything. We're talking about someone that does elite level stuff here and there. He's valuable to have.
And right now, they don't have the other defensive end that they need, or a linebacker really. Because what do you have a linebacker currently?
You have.
We don't have anybody really.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. So you got this guy that's arguably the best player on the roster, and there are two positions that are uncertain right now that you don't know what's going to happen. So you clearly do need to address both of them to be able to utilize him the ways that you guys have been talking about and as a Swiss Army knife. But I wanted to ask real quick, this is definitely going to be a dumb question, but whatever, I don't care. Asking about dumb questions. But for guys, obviously not your expensive guys, top players, but guys like Dorrance Armstrong, when you, like, let's say sign them or whatever, how much money would you lose if you end up, like, getting rid of him at training camp, like after training camp?
Depends on the deal.
Yeah, someone like him, you know, not necessarily your main guys, obviously, but those lower end guys, but not necessarily your full at the bottom of the depth chart.
I mean, that gets back to, like, how long is the deal? Like what Nick was talking about earlier, like he's wanting a shorter term deal, they want a longer term deal. If it's a longer term deal, it hurts more to release him soon because you're expecting to be able to spread that money out over all those years, and now it all comes due. So I think that's really kind of the issue is what kind of deal do they have? How many years do they have left on that deal where they would have been kind of spreading out the signing bonus?
Yeah, I don't think that would happen this year. It also just depends on what it looks like. You know, like when they say an average of 8 a year, it's like, what is it? Is it salary, or is it guaranteed money, or is it bonus and all that? I mean, it's hard to tell. Usually that doesn't happen if they sign him to a deal like that, because the first couple
if it's a 1 year deal, it doesn't really matter. But
right. Yeah. But if it's a 1 year deal that most of it is a guaranteed, or is it a bonus or something like that, then wouldn't.
I guess what I was like maybe a Noah Brown type of guy that you could do something like that with. But I was Brown. Just in that thought, in the line thought of like, okay, what kind of guys can you kinda back yourself up a little bit right now before you figure out what exactly other moves you can make, whether it's a big splash on free agency or through the draft.
Yeah, it's hard to tell right now. I think, one thing we didn't really talk about is D-Law too. Like, I mean, did we? I mean,
no, we talked about it in the context.
I just think it's kind of weird because talk about a narrative that changed. I mean, a week ago, D-Law was the guy that was like, "Oh, I'm not taking a pay cut. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do anything to help the team." And then he comes in and okay,
well, we kind of know why.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he also did a team-friendly thing, which it helped him. I mean, he's going to get $30 million guaranteed, but it still helps him and it helped the team, and he did it so he could re-sign Hooker, Gregory, and Gers. That's why he did it, and it doesn't look like he's going to get all three. Right now, he just got one with Malik Hooker, but he did it to help the team, helped him. I called it a win-win-win-win-win situation, and I didn't get that last one with Gregory, but I do think if you can get more players out of this, then I think it was a move. Dave Hellman said it best. It's a move that fans always want the players to make, help the team out, and that's what he did. He went in there and signed it and did a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, and part of it, too, was, I mean, obviously he had to protect himself because he didn't want to get into a situation where we've seen this happen in the NFL as well. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where players have to look out for themselves, too, is, you wait and the team doesn't want to do anything right now, but then they wait and then you get cut like in June or July. And now you're sitting out there as a free agent when all the money's been taken. So there's a lot that's factored into why he would make a decision like this. But I think, as you said, it actually ended up working out for everyone. It was a win for the team. It was a win for him. Hopefully a win for some other players that'll be signed back here, even if it's not Randy Gregory.
Right.
And he did say on a podcast he was on just yesterday, he said he was asked about, kind of how they move from here. And he's like, look, just get players, right? So, if they got Vaughn or if they got Bobby Wagner, I think he's going to be happy. I don't think the name is you got to use my money to get Randy. I think he just wants to have good players, because at the end of the day, like every other player, he wants to win ultimately.
Right.
All right, let's talk about DeMonte Casey. He spent most of the year last year as your starting free safety. What's happening with him? Is that somebody the Cowboys even thinking about at this point, or is he just going to be out of free agency and whatever he gets is what he gets from somewhere else?
Got anything? Because I honestly, like, I remembered DeMonte Casey like 7 seconds ago when you just mentioned his name. I hadn't been.
In other words, he ain't on their radar.
He's not, and it had nothing to do with the money. It's not the fit that they want. So
I think probably because of the similarity in the name and like starting with a K. My mom always just thinks of Curse initially, so you tend to forget like Casey.
They signed Hooker. I mean, that's what they signed Malik.
So that's going to
Hooker,
be their free safety.
And they're free safety, and they're trying to re-sign Jaron Curse, and so that's.
And they got McQuamu here. They hope to keep developing, maybe.
Of course.
They got other guys that are lower rung guys.
And Donovan Wilson still. So you've got guys there, and I think everyone knew this was one of those situations that. They threw stuff at the wall and hoping to see what's going to stick. I mean, Curse, Casey, Hooker, all three of them, 1-year deals. We'll see what works. Yeah. And you could say they all kind of worked. I mean, Casey was a good player. He was probably a more productive player, but I thought, from upside standpoint, I think they think Hooker is better.
And Hooker was coming off an Achilles last year, so
was Casey. To be fair, so was Casey.
Right, but I do think that the expectation was Hooker was getting better as the season went on.
Yeah.
They thought coming into this year he might be a better option for them than last year.
And this was a first-round pick that was, that has the talent and all that. He's just got to kind of come into his own.
I have forgotten his history in
Malik
injuries.
Hooker.
Until we did the article about him getting re-signed and all that, but I have forgotten he went through all of that. I'm like, oh my god, okay, but that's pretty impressive.
But was a good player at one point. Like you might steal one here if he can stay healthy. You might steal a really really good player.
Yeah, there's no doubt if he can come back from that. And he's come back, but I mean, you got to just keep
doing it. Yeah. All right, Leighton Vander Esch, where are we with him? What's the likelihood? I know you were talking about his market earlier. What are you hearing about him?
I think he's didn't get the money that he thought he was going to get, but it sounds like he's gonna get some interest here. I think Pittsburgh, New England, maybe a couple other AFC teams are in the mix there. I think the Cowboys were kind of lukewarm on him coming back, and I think Leighton wanted to come back, but. He's got to be. This is his second contract. He's got to do the most for him.
Based on what you guys saw from him last year, and really over the course of his career here in Dallas, would you like to see Leighton Vander Esch back if the money works?
Well, the money's got to really work. No, I mean it's got to really work. I think that last game was tricky because it showed him he played really well, but there's not many teams in the NFL that play the way the 49ers play. Mm-hmm. They try to run the ball at you. And if that's the case, I think Leighton can be effective. I think Leighton would be really good for Pittsburgh because I think the Browns like to run it. I think the Bengals even like to run it, and the Ravens.
That division,
I think it would be right up his alley. But when he's running around trying to get chase tight ends and running backs out of the backfield and stuff like that, that's not really his strength. And so I don't think all games would be his best game, and that's probably not going to be worth the money that you get. So, I'm surprised that he wanted to come back, though. He did for the right price, but he's got to be smart about it. So,
yeah, he's kind of lost it for me. Like, when you see certain players that they're just completely ruthless and they just throw themselves on there and make that tackle and all that. And I'm not saying he doesn't play hard. Obviously, every player that gets on that field plays hard. But there's something about him that he just has lost that spark that he had shown his rookie year. And maybe the last injury he got maybe really got to him or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But he just has lost that adrenaline that I once saw in him. So right now he didn't give me much to want to bring him back based on specifically what we saw last year.
All right. Few guys I'm going to run down real quick. Just let me know what you're hearing about them. Let's start with Brian Anger. Then give me Keanu Neal.
Keanu Neal, I'll say that. I don't think he's in the mix. Keanu Neal was supposed to come in and be a safety that was transitioning into linebacker that could be their nickel guy and probably lead the team in tackles. Yeah. And that happened. It's just his name was Jaron Curse. That's what happened. Jaron Curse just took the role that Keanu Neal was supposed to have, and that's what they're going to do. And did it better. And so that's what I think is happening there. And then Anger, they want him back. They just want a right price. I think Hecker's now in the mix.
I was about to say, how does Hecker play into that? Because obviously that's one of Bones Fossil's guys, and he loves his guys. We've seen that. So.
Yeah, but they put a cap on it. I mean, they're not spending a ton for the punter. They they've looked at that, Anger's history, and he seems to do better when he's on a 1 year deal.
Talk about that, because I think sometimes, and at least what I've heard in the media, the general media, everybody's like, why wouldn't you re-sign Anger? He was so great last year. And by the way, he was really great. And my eyes even opened once you told me, like, go look at his history. Go look at how he's performed over years. I think a lot of people think he's, fresh into the NFL, and this is like his, this. But talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is every year that he has signed like a 1 year deal, a prove it deal. He's done it. He's been really good. Then he gets like a 3 year deal out of it, and he never makes it to the second year of that because he doesn't perform to that level. And then he goes and gets another deal. And
how many years has he?
I think this is like his 8th or 9th year. So he's kind of done this.
I was kind of shocked when you told me that.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
So he hasn't been as great all the time. It's been an up and down type of career at times. But
so investing a lot of money in him is a bit of a risk.
Yeah,
right?
A little bit. But I'll say this: I think he's perfect for what Fossil's doing, and so punters want to play for him because we've talked about this several times. He protects the punter. Mm-hmm. His reputation is one of a guy that's going to do a lot of fakes, and he's getting very good numbers out of it because all you got to do is go up there, punt the ball high, far. Nobody's going to return it because C.J. Goodwin's already down there waiting on him to catch it. Yep. So it's a good situation to be a punter here, and I think that they'll get a good one. I don't know if it'll be Anger. I don't know if it'll be Hecker. I don't know. But they'll get a good one because even if the money's not great, it's a good place for them to be.
All right. Appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. We'll have more news on free agency. Keep locked on DallasCowboys.com and the Cowboys mobile app for more information. Until then, for Nick Eatman and Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?